Hello everybody, my name is Dark Magic, and today I will be teaching you how I turn this monkey into this dubstep banger. So this song was a 1-hour challenge that was in my friend Edad's stream. He gave us this monkey sample and told us to make a song with it in an hour, and we'd all check back. So that was a lot of fun. Make sure to check out his streams. Starting with the drop, we've got this bass sound right here, which pretty much is just the original monkey with a ton of post-processing. So I'm going to make a duplicate right here and stretch it out for you and show you. It's literally just that first hit, but I've got this really big pitch bend on it. So if you go to envelopes, you can go to transposition, and I literally just drew in this random envelope. So a little shortcut for you guys. If you hit B, you can use this pencil mode, and that's how I drew in this shortcut. But I was also holding Option on Mac to make it, or wait, no, if you just zoom in, you can get smaller frames. So that's how I made the little automation here, which sounds like this all by itself. But there's a ton of post-process on it. So let's get started. The first thing I did on it was a little auto filter because I wanted to make a growlish kind of sound. Literally just automated it in by hand. Then we've got an EQ8 doing this. So that's where a lot of that tone comes from, is this peak on top and then that notch filter underneath. We've got a corpus. It's tuned to C. It doesn't really matter, honestly. It's just a corpus to give that metallic ring. We've got an amp afterwards. On the blues preset, we've got dual on, pretty standard stuff. But then, of course, we've got our good friend OTT. So this first one is at 50%, a little bit of gain, no time. And then I think I just duplicated it. Yeah, I just duplicated it and turned the gain up a little bit. Then I ran that into a saturator. Just analog clip. And that into another auto filter to clean it up a little bit. And it gives you some of that vowel movement, so that is really important for the sound. Just a wider to make it wide. Pretty standard stuff. I think it's the same OTTs as before. Yeah, I didn't even change them. It's literally the exact same OTTs, just copy and pasted into the same saturator. Yeah, just with more drive this time. So more beef, you know, the standard practice. Then this really messed up EQ. It works with the sub, which I'll get to later. A compressor to get rid of those really harsh peaks. There's really harsh peaks, just making sure it cleans those up. And then one more little EQ, just to make sure there's no low end whatsoever. So pretty much all of these hits are just variations of that same sound. Like if I turn all the processing off again, you'll hear that's the same thing, just with a different pitch. This over here, copy of the first one. So I just copied those back and forth. And then that's a variation that's pitched lower. But with the processing, it sounds great. So basically, I just made the chain first on this first hit, and then I made variations of it. So that's the first sound. The second sound we got over here. Actually, the second sound is down here, and this is the main bass sound. It sounds like this. So basically, what I did for this, and you'll never guess, without any processing, it's literally just the original monkey grunt, and it's amazing. I love it so much. So the processing on it, we've got a wider, just to make it wide. That's one of the first things I did. Then we've got the delay, and what I'm doing to the delay is I'm automating it with this little bandpass on it. So you get this kind of movement to it. And then this is where I use that option command on Mac to really get those fine points when I'm like editing it in. So if you hold, or sorry, not option, it's a command. If you hold command, you can really get those fine points. So that's how I drew this little line here, and got that. Then what I did is I boosted this one tonal peak, because I really liked how it sounded, and then I put it into 2 OTTs to compress it and bring that peak back down, but also to make sure that that peak was the main aspect of the sound. Then we got another saturator, another OTT with 2 more peaks. And you can already hear that tone starting to come in. I saturated it again after that. And I did one more really, really sharp peak where a lot of the tone is coming from. If you go in here, you can literally see it's tuned to E, not that it really matters. But you can just, I picked that tone that I really liked and used it for the entire sample. And then obviously, or not obviously, but on the end, we've got this little frequency shifter just doing this little pitch movement. And that's just to, you know, give it some flow and do the pattern. And then you can hear this one is higher, which I believe is because I literally just tuned the monkey sample up 2 semitones. So if you turn all of these off, I literally just pitched it up 2 semitones. So that's like the main bass for most of it. There's some like flow switches where it goes like this. So that's in triplets. You can turn on the triplet grid with Command 3. And if I turn off the processing, it's literally just going to be the monkey again. So let's turn this all off. Yeah, there's literally no pattern to it whatsoever, or no like sort of pitch movement. That is all coming from, I assume, the frequency shifter. Yeah. And I literally just drew that in there. So on top of all of these sounds, I've got this little layer up here, which I don't even remember exactly how I made, but it sounds like this. So really harsh and screechy. That's why it's really far back in the mix. If I copy it over here, I'm assuming what I did is I just pitched it. Yeah, okay. So I can literally show you how I made this because I just took that sample and stretched it out a ton. And I pitched it up a ton of semitones as well on beats mode, which is really important. Because that's what kind of gives you that really weird and glitchy sound. Otherwise you get kind of this more roomy sound. What I wanted is I wanted all of those individual little hits. And so I just used that as like a little sustained layer and I high passed it, and that's about it, honestly. Moving on to the next section is the switch. So if you haven't heard the entire thing, the switch sounds like this. So once again, we've got those same growl sounds, just with a little variation on it. So it's the same sound, just really high pitched up. And I should also note I have this on tones, but literally just mess around with it, have fun with it. But the same processing as before, basically. And now we've got this sound over here, which this is a frozen sound, so I assume it's a resample of something else I did. Let's see here. So this is what the entire sound sounds like without any sort of like warping. I don't even know what that was, to be completely honest. But if I turn off the warping, it's the same. Well, I must have resampled it, and I noticed I really liked that one little sound in here. And I basically turned that into an entire flow. Again, the processing is extremely simple. Let's see here. There's an EQ8. Oh, that's really peaking it. Right there. We've got an amp on it. We've got a saturator. We've got another OTT. And we've got EQ, getting rid of all those really harsh peaks. And so that's what the main sound is. And under that, we've got these little offbeat like chants, but it's just the monkey. So I'm pretty sure I literally just cloned this channel right here and made a little variation. So everything about here is the same. You can even see it pitches down underneath. That doesn't matter, but like I literally just copy and pasted it. And then this sample over here, this little sustain sample, I believe is just another layer that I got from like stretching and like frequency shifting. Yeah, I don't actually know how I got that, but more, resampling and pitching around and stretching and all that, and I got that sound, which I wanted to be higher, so I pitched it up with the frequency shifter. Pretty simple stuff. And that's pretty much it for the bass sounds. You've got the little flow variation at the end, but again, that's just a copy and paste of this bass over here. Just lower, or higher, I think. And then that one pitches down at the end. So yeah, they're pretty much just all pitch variations and flows. As for the sub is one of my favorite subs that I have at the moment. It's this preset I made. I believe I got it from a tutorial of Deviate, I believe. But I made it my own. So we've got a serum, and we've got this basic shape sine wave. And I've got just this one bin, which is one harmonic, which I'm adding onto here. But a lot of the movement is coming from this LFO that I put on the coarse pitch. And if you go in here, you can see I've got it up 19 semitones. So it does this little bending movement where it goes up and then it goes down towards the end. So the note is F, but you can see on mini meters that it actually ends up pretty low down because it pitches back down. As for processing, we've got an amp, we've got an EQ, a saturator, and another EQ. Pretty standard stuff, but we've also got an operator on top of it with a ton of stuff. So this is pretty much just noise. I'm just using noise that's going through an erosion on sine and then going through this rack, which is an EQ. The frequency shifter is off, so ignore that. Disperser on the noise. We got a redux doing something. We got a ring mod on here that's modulating from self to give it that like crispy tone to it. An OTT, a reverb. I'm gonna be honest, I made this preset a while ago. I don't remember everything in here, but that layer with the original sub bass and then saturated together is what makes it. So if I turn off the saturator, it's just a sub and noise. It's not that powerful, but that saturator really ties everything together. So that's the sub. And I think I put this layer on here of just, that's where some more of the white noise is coming from, because this bass by itself, that's what the noise sounds like. So I actually did layer it with some of the white noise from, I guess I cut it out. I actually don't know, but I got some more white noise and I layered it with the sub. And there's no processing on this group, but I will say there is a lot of processing on the bass group. So moving into that, we've got the ring mod saturator trick, or the ring mod trick that I use on my mids all the time. So it sounds like this. Let me turn off all the processing actually. So it sounds like this without any processing whatsoever. It's very bland. So adding the ring mod crunch, it really adds it adds this like flutter because it uses the sub as an input, and the ring mod is modulating the amplitude of the incoming basses of the mids to the sub, so they're in tune together, and it gives that a really crispy flutter sound. Love that trick. I use it in all of my songs. Then I got a little EQ before moving it into a V clip, which is pretty much just my favorite clipper. You can use any clipper for this. And I am cranking that input because I really want those basses and the sub to like crunch together. And it's a huge difference. I love clipping my stuff together. It really ties the sounds together, makes them one. And then this snap peep at the end is just a little preset that I use to like fade out at the end. It's literally just reverb and delay and filtering. So that's about it for the basses. Moving on to the drums, they are also pretty simple, but let's go through them. We got a decap kick. I love decap drums. Got a saturator, transient shaper, just boosting that attack, and a little EQ dip. We've got this clap sample. I actually don't know where I got it from, but it sounds like this. And I just got a saturator on it, an EQ, and more transient shaping to boost those attacks. So pretty simple stuff, but it really makes it stand out in the mix. I've got my little hats And the hats are following the pattern of the monkey, which is pretty funny. And I just got a ride sample. Pretty basic stuff. I did delay some of these channels. Actually one of the bass channels. I delayed this little bass channel over here of the offbeat chant. But everything else is on grid. But I also delayed some of my cymbals to give it some groove. I do that in most of my stuff. And I've also got a little snare switch up over here where I introduce one of my snares from an upcoming sample pack, which you can get soon. So it sounds like this. I love using these pitched snares where they're really high. It just has a little like impact. So if you hear, and then it goes back to the clap. So I love using those for switch ups. And finally, on the drum bus, we've got a Panx, which is it used to be a paid compressor, but now it's free. So I just turn the threshold down, and I use a little bit of the New York Presence and Air. I don't turn up the gain. It's really just to clip those transients and to give it a little bit of presence. If I turn it off, you can see it's clipping a lot in this mixer over here, but turning it on, it sounds about the same volume, but you can hear that it's a little bit, it's a little bit cleaner and doesn't take as much room. And so that's pretty much it for like the drop and whatnot. The intro is very simple. I literally just got the monkey and pan with ping pong. I love ping pong for my intros. I have that sound resampled with delay and reverb. Very basic stuff. I've got this little riser that I made from the monkey, which I love. It's literally just a frequency shifter that I pitched up and some reverb, but it sounds great. Just some samples. One from, I love this sample so much. And then one that I made from my own pack, which you can get soon. A little down sweep. And then I filtered in the basses with some reverb. And this filter that you can get from my first sample pack. Use it all the time. And then finally, on the drums, I have this little snare build, which I love to do. It's just a snare getting pitched up with the transpose over here. And I also use the same little filter thing to quiet it towards the end. And that's pretty much the entire song. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I will be happy to answer them in the comment section. I had a ton of fun making this. Thank you so much, Edad, for hosting this little competition. I would absolutely do this again, and everybody make sure to check out his music. He's amazing. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.